What's up guys? We're back with another van mod that I've been meaning to do for a while now. Fog lights. Since I bought the van, I've been wanting to put fog lamps on it. I did it as one of the first mods in the split bus, even before the metalwork was done on it. But with the van, I've been busy just trying to get and keep the thing running. Well, now I've got the time, I've got a mostly working van, and I've got the lights. And the lights are big. A few days ago, I went to a big VW show here in Florida called Bug Jam. They have a huge swap meet, and I picked up a set of gigantic Bosch halogen fog lights. They were a great deal, and I think that they'll make the van look a lot better. Hopefully, they'll let me see at night a lot better too. But before we throw them on the van, I'd like to clean them up a little bit. There's a little bit of hazing on the glass, so I'm gonna take some alcohol and try to clean the inside of them out. Another important thing that I wanna do is turn them from halogen lamps into LEDs. I'm not really sure if my alternator can keep up with that amount of current. I went ahead and bought myself some 100 watt LED light bulbs, some H3 light bulbs to throw in here, and hopefully I'll be able to make them work. So let's get started. So I guess this glass doesn't really open up all the way, so I'm kind of stuck with it being a little bit hazy. They're not too bad, so I'm not really going to be too worried about it. They're as good as they're going to get. I'm thinking that they'll go around here and right here. But you know what's even cooler than modifying stuff? Modifying stuff and making it look like it was factory. One of the things that I never really liked about the split bus's fog lights is a switch that really doesn't look stock at all. So for the van, I kind of have a thing about everything looking like it was from the factory. I'm gonna head to the computer, do some research about what switches will fit in the van. Well, after searching and searching, I finally found out that the Vanagon actually had a fog lamp switch that would go into a little blank part of my gauge cluster. But as it turns out, those switches are super rare to find. I did, however, stumble upon another option. A Porsche 944 rear fog light switch. This switch should fit in the same spot as the blank on my gauge cluster. It also should have the same backlight and the same light on the side here that when I click it on, it should match all of my gauge cluster, including the headlights and everything like that. Now that we've got that solved, how about mounting the lights? From factory, Vanagons actually came with holes under the bumpers to mount the fog lights. This also means that I'll have to find those original brackets. And here they are, as if by magic. It's not magic though. I found these online from a place called Camper Van Culture. Hopefully they'll fit on the van. Now we've got everything that we need, but these jobs always look like they'll work on paper until you actually get to the installation. So let's see how it works on paper, shall we? Basically, I'm going to be wiring the lights to a relay and that relay to a switch. Now a few things from the auto store. Finally, we're at the disassembly stage. Just remember to make a note of where everything goes so you can put it back. With the bumper off, this is a good time to clean the years of dust off the front end. Now we can take the grill off to look for a place to run the wires out from behind the dashboard. Behind the driver's side headlight, there are a few rubber grommets that look like a promising place to run them. To see where those holes would be located, we can start disassembling the gauge cluster. Just be careful. Pretty much every snap is made of plastic and will most likely be brittle. Well, I think that I found a place for the relay. It's using a screw for one of the brackets that holds up the little vent things for when you open and close the vents on the car. But it's in an easy to reach place. It seems like it's serviceable. It seems like it's nice and securely fastened. I probably should have started with this, unplugging the battery. Now I'm gonna try to run this wire through the battery compartment. It's gonna go from the battery to the relay.
At first I was just going to run the wires under the seat, but then I was worried that the wire would be snagged by the swivel platform and cause a short. I decided that running the wire through the box would be a much better idea. Using solder instead of crimp connectors will also be a safer and more professional idea. Just finished the power source to the relay. It goes from the battery box through this little hole that was already pre-done there on the passenger seat underneath. I put a grommet on it so that the wire wouldn't rub up against the metal. The wire goes underneath the carpet, up into the dashboard, and then to the relay. I'm going to be using solder and heat shrink on all the ends of my wires just to be safe. To get this wire from the dashboard outside the car, there's actually 4 pretty big rubber grommets already through the front of the car. I'm not gonna have to drill any more holes or anything like that. I ended up using a piece of a plastic fuel line from when I was doing the fuel lines on this car and shoving it into one of the grommets like a straw and then pulling the wire out, and then now I can pull this tube off the wire, and now the wire is nicely inside the rubber grommet. Now we just need to make the ground wire for the relay. So there's only one more wire left for the relay, the one that goes from the switch to the relay. Yeah, it's actually looking pretty good. Everything is nice and soldered, and I think it's actually coming out pretty nicely. Don't know where I'm gonna get the power for the switch. Some people were saying from the headlight switch, and other people were saying just do it to a blank fuse on the fuse box. So I'm gonna look for any blank fuses just so that I don't have to mess around with the wiring of the actual headlight switch. And hopefully there'll be an empty fuse that I can just plug into. Just looking up right now how to wire that switch up to the car. I have like a ton of these photographs that people have made online to show you like how to wire up this Porsche switch to the wiring of the Vanagon. So I guess I'm not the only person who's tried this. Wow, the sun is really bright. Jeez. There's 2 different mounting holes for these brackets on here. The inner ones are actually supposed to be for the driving lights, and the outer ones are supposed to be for fog lights. And since these are fog lights, I'm gonna put them on the outer ones. Also, since these lights are so large, I don't want them impeding any airflow into the radiator or the condenser. Before I actually put these on, I'm just gonna line them up with these the rivets that came in the kit, just to see how they're gonna look. Those look pretty good where I have them, and I'm gonna get the rivet gun out now and I'm gonna put these in. Well, I'm actually running into a little bit of a problem here, that the light itself is a little bit too close to the grill, and I've added like a little copper washer, but I've only got one of them, and I don't think it's really going to be a permanent fix. I think that what I'm going to end up needing to do is get an L bracket and attach it to the bracket on the bumper. I'm also having a problem that I've messed up some of these rivets that came with the brackets for the bumper. I'm missing one of them now because it broke. I ended up redoing all the rivets since they were all loose and didn't come out right. Back at the home store getting parts for my car. The brackets are on, they're looking pretty good. We cut down the L brackets that we bought from the home store the other day, and they fit pretty perfectly. The rivets are holding really nicely, they seem pretty solid, and I'm gonna go ahead and mount the lights now. I plan is to put some shrink wrap on this all the way down to the tube so it doesn't rub up against the tube. Another trick that I've learned with all these wires that are outside the car, whenever you're putting ends on them, it's a good idea to take a little bit of dielectric grease, put the grease all over like the wire part, slide the shrink wrap up, then shrink it. And you'll know it works properly. The grease pops out of the back here because it'll seal it up in there really nicely and it won't let any water intrude and rust the wires. Well, the lights are on finally. The video camera lost battery, so I had to charge the camera and I didn't want to wait for it, so I just finished them up. The wires are run down from the driver's side light area down into the bumper using like a piece of plastic fuel line. And then that plastic fuel line comes up and it allows the wires to go into that light, and then it runs across the bumper, and then it allows the wires to go into that light. Any exposed wires I covered with heat shrink wrap, so there's no like wires that are visible from the outside of the car, and everything will be protected from the sunlight, and it should last a good long time.
Next, I needed to plug the switch into the fuse. Let's go over the switch wiring for anyone interested. Power from the fuse panel is plugged in here. The switch then gives power to the relay here, and the indicator light is tapped into that to show when the light is on. Ground plugs in here, and the middle pin that's not plugged in this picture is for the instrument lights. Alright, back to the video.
The next thing I need to do is plug it into the battery and see they turn on. Put it onto the battery. Well, nothing's exploded yet, so I guess I've gotten this far. Nothing's blown up. Okay, here we go. Oh look, the little green light is on. Now that they're working, we can put everything back together. Zip tie everything down, make sure everything's tight, throw the bumper back on, and we'll be good. Everything is put back together and everything is as it should be. Let's wait until nighttime and then go for a ride. Here's what it looks like with no lights. These are my headlights, and here are the fogs.
Amazingly, the fog lights ended up being brighter than my headlights.
There we go. And there we have it. Working LED fog lights on the van. Thank you guys so much for watching, and see you next time.